Hello, my name is Nikiwe and welcome to AfriPolitics. Today I want to talk about someone who, whether you agree with her or not, has never been afraid to challenge the status quo, Ntsiki Mazwai. For years, we've known her as a poet, a writer, a cultural commentator, an activist, someone who always seems willing to say what many people are thinking, even if it lands her in trouble. But today, she's no longer just commenting on politics, she's stepping into it. Ntsiki Mazwai has been announced as the mayoral candidate for Johannesburg under the Land Party ahead of the upcoming local government elections. And when I saw the announcement, honestly, my first reaction wasn't surprise. In many ways, politics feels like a natural progression for someone who spent years debating South Africa's biggest social and political issues. So today, I don't want to attack her. I don't want to praise her. I simply want us to look at what this candidacy means, what she brings to the table, and some of the questions voters may ask before they decide whether she's the right person to lead Johannesburg, because that's what democracy is supposed to be about. Looking at ideas, looking at experience, looking at leadership, not just personalities. Now, let's begin with the person herself. Many people know Ntsiki from social media, but her story started long before Twitter or podcasts. Her full name is Ntsiki Mazwai. She comes from a family that has long been involved in journalism, literature, and public debate. Her father, Tami Mazwai, is a respected journalist. Her late mother was also involved in journalism and anti-apartheid activism. Her sister, Thandiso Mazwai, is one of South Africa's most talented and celebrated musicians. So it's fair to say that public engagement and activism have always been part of her environment. Academically, she studied media studies at Wits University. Professionally, she built a career as a poet, author, television personality, music journalist, and commentator. I think music writing as well. She has published poetry books, participated in literature festivals, and won recognition early in her careers for her writing. Long before she entered politics, she had already established herself as someone deeply interested in questions of identity, culture, and social justice. And whether people agree with her opinions or not, one thing is difficult to deny. She has been remarkably consistent. The issues she talks about today are largely the same issues she was talking about years ago: land, economic transformation, African identity, language, culture, representation. That's important. Now let's move to the biggest question. Can activism translate into governance? Because those are two different things. An activist identifies problems. Government has to solve them. An activist can demand change. A mayor has to deliver change while balancing budgets, managing departments, dealing with procurement, fixing infrastructure, and ensuring that residents receive services, basic services. Johannesburg is arguably the most important city in South Africa economically. It's roads, it's water, it's electricity, it's waste collection, it's housing, public safety. These are everyday issues that directly affect millions of people. So every mayoral candidate, regardless of party, should be prepared to explain not only what is wrong, but also how they plan to fix it. And that's something I hope we'll hear more about from every candidate over the coming months. Now, let's talk about the Land Party. Personally, I think this is where the most interesting conversation begins. Not because of anything negative about the people, but because of branding. When many people hear the word land party, the first thing that comes to mind is land reform. Whether it's fair or not, first impressions matter in politics. A party's name often shapes how voters perceive it before they've even read a single policy document. And that creates an interesting challenge. Johannesburg's problems extend far beyond one issue. Residents worry about crime, service delivery, corruption, water shortages, immigration, electricity, road maintenance, housing, youth unemployment, investment, public transport, illegal immigration, economic growth. These are complex challenges that require detailed plans. So one question some voters may ask is this: does the Land Party have a broad enough vision for Johannesburg, or is it perceived primarily through the lens of land reform? Notice I said perceived, because perception and reality are not always the same things. The party may well have policies covering many areas, but in politics, perception matters. If people assume you only care about one issue, they may never take the time to explore the rest of your platform. That's something every political party has to think about. Communication is part of leadership. Another conversation often comes up whenever land reform is discussed is the economy. South Africa has a unique history, and conversations around land are important. Many people believe land transformation remains incomplete and that the country still has unfinished business. At the same time, many South Africans also worry about economic stability. They ask questions like, how do we encourage investment? How do we create jobs? How do we grow economically? How do we maintain confidence in South Africa's future? Those are legitimate questions too. The challenge for every political party is finding policies that address both justice and economic growth. These goals don't have to compete with each other. The real task is explaining how they can work together. One thing I will say is this: I think Ntsiki Mazwai immediately brings a visibility to the Land Party. Let's be honest. Before this announcement, many South Africans probably couldn't even tell you anything about the party. Now people are paying attention. That's the power of a well-known candidate. Sometimes candidates elevate a party. Sometimes a party elevates a candidate. But I think this is one of the moments where the party is elevated by the candidate. Whether that translates into votes is another question entirely, but politically, it's certainly an interesting development. I also think South African politics benefits when people from different professional backgrounds become involved. Not because being famous automatically qualifies someone for office, it doesn't, but because democracy is strengthened when people from journalism, business, education, activism, law, medicine, arts, culture bring their perspective into public life. Ultimately, voters will decide whether they believe those perspectives can translate into effective leadership or not. As we head towards the election, I hope this campaign focuses less on personalities and more on practical solutions. How will Johannesburg and other provinces become safer? How will businesses be encouraged to invest? How will infrastructure improve? How will corruption be reduced? How will public services become more reliable? Those are conversations that matter to residents. So where do I stand after hearing this announcement? I think Ntsiki Mazwai deserves to be taken seriously as a candidate. She has built a public profile over many years. She has consistently engaged with important issues. She has demonstrated courage in expressing her views, even when they were unpopular. Now she has the opportunity to show how those ideas translate into governance. As for the Land Party, I think many voters will want to hear more, not just about the land, but about the range of challenges facing Johannesburg. Local government is about everyday experience of residents, and successful campaigns usually demonstrate a clear plan across multiple issues. This election will give every party the chance to do exactly that. But enough from me. I want to hear from you. What do you think about Ntsiki Mazwai entering politics? Do you think her background as an activist and commentator is an advantage? What issues do you think should dominate the Johannesburg election? And what would you like every political party, not just one, to explain more clearly before you cast your vote? Let's keep the conversation respectful, thoughtful, and focused on ideas. I'll see you in the next one.